Grab your notebooks, y'all. I'm giving you 10 tips for applying for 501c3 status. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, this is Tiffany with Boss on a Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. Make sure you're subscribed because I drop videos all the time about starting a nonprofit and raising money as a new nonprofit. So I wanted to do like a rapid fire video giving you 10 quick tips on applying for 501c3 status. I'm going to jump right into it. I'm not going to waste a lot of time, but if you need help starting your nonprofit after you apply for 501c3 status, you're trying to figure out, okay, what's next, then make sure you grab my nonprofit startup workbook, and the link is in the description box below. Real quick before I jump into it, I want you to wait till number 10. Number 10 is by far a cheat code. It's something that a lot of people don't realize that can really help you get through the application process, so make sure you stay to the end. Number 1, get a lawyer, y'all. You probably don't want to hear me say this, but when you're applying for 501c3 status, there are some things that can really trip you up in the paperwork. And so if you're not working with someone who understands how that all works, then you can make some pretty costly mistakes. I want you to check out this video I'm linking above, which talks about the number 1 mistake I see people making on the paperwork. I recommend you get a lawyer, but not just because you need a lawyer to fill out the paperwork. Like, that's debatable because you can fill out the paperwork yourself. It's more so to kind of oversee the process to help you understand what you're doing and also help you understand things according to state law. So nonprofits are governed by state law. The IRS is concerned with taxes and your transparency with your funds, but the states really govern how you operate. So you want to have a lawyer that operates in your state that can help give you advice and guidance on how to set up your policies, how to set up your bylaws, all of that kind of stuff. So if you can't afford for a lawyer to actually do paperwork for you, at least have someone who can review, or at least check out your nonprofit association or an association of lawyers who may do things pro bono to help you review some of the paperwork that you're going through. If you want to know what I think about filling out the paperwork yourself, make sure you also check out this video I'm linking above that I did before. Number 2 is make sure you're using the right form when you are applying for 501c3 status. So there are actually 2 different forms you can use. You can either do the 1023, which is the regular form, I call it the OG, or the 1023 Easy, which is the streamlined version of the 1023 form. Not all nonprofits are eligible to fill out the Easy form, but if you are eligible, it's way easier and simpler to fill out, and actually it costs less. So if you are eligible for the Easy form, you might want to do it. But my piece of advice is, even if you're not submitting the full form, still go through the full form, read it, try to fill it out, answer the questions, because it'll really help you prepare for your nonprofit long term, and it'll give you a sense of what the IRS wants to know from you, all the things that you should be doing to prepare to stay in compliance with the IRS. Number 3, make sure you understand the state structure, state requirements for your nonprofit. So a lot of people automatically think to be a nonprofit, all you really have to do is get 501c3 status. But there are some things you got to do before. Case in point, you need to establish your organization at the state level first, but you need to understand what kind of entity you're setting up. Are you setting up a corporation, an association, a trust? In most circumstances, you're setting up a nonprofit corporation. But again, I'm not a lawyer, not your lawyer, and I can't give you advice on what to set up. But I can say that most people who are setting up nonprofits that are doing direct service work in the community are setting up nonprofit corporations. But understanding the landscape of the different types of nonprofits that are out there and understanding what the requirements are for nonprofits in your state is really, really crucial. That's something you should take care of and know before you go for 501c3 status, just to make sure you're well versed in what's required of you as a nonprofit founder. Number 4 is to check the IRS instructions and guidance. You may be surprised, but the IRS does have a lot of documentation on their website about 501c3 organizations and instructions for how to complete their forms, instructions for whether or not you're eligible for one thing versus the other. And they also have some documents that help you stay compliant. They have guides on good governance. They have guides to help you stay exempt. So don't overlook what you can get directly from the IRS. And if you watched a couple of my videos, you know that I say go to the source. There's nothing better than the source. So if you really want to understand what's required of you as a 501c3 organization, start with the IRS, read what they say. And then if you don't understand it and you need somebody to break it down, by all means, come visit me and watch my videos. But make sure you also go to the IRS website and read the information that they put out for consumers. I'm linking some documents below that I reference just so you can get a head start and you can go read those now. Number 5 is to understand your annual reporting requirements. And so I'm just going to simplify this and say, know the 990 form, understand what it is, and there are also different versions of the 990 form. There's a 990N, sometimes referred to as the 990 postcard. There's the 990EZ, and then there's the full 990 form. This is the annual form that nonprofits need to submit to the IRS. Whether you're making money or not, you need to be submitting this form every year. It's the form that the IRS uses to determine whether or not you're still functioning as a nonprofit organization. So it's very important that you fill it out and that you submit it every single year. It's important for you to know what you're eligible for. You don't have to necessarily fill out the 990 form if you're not equipped or you don't have the capacity to until your income reaches a certain level, but you still need to know about the 990 form and you need to know when it's due because it's not due the same time of the year for every single nonprofit. It's due 5 months and 15 days after the end of your fiscal year. So if your fiscal year ends December 31st, come May 15th, you should be preparing to submit your 990 form. It's very important that you do this because if you don't fill out your 990 form, you may risk getting your status automatically revoked. So I'm also linking above a video where I talked about automatic revocation so you can educate yourself about the risks of not filling out your 990 form. Number 6 is a really important one, y'all. It is know the difference between a public charity and a private foundation. So I talk about this in this video where I talked about the biggest mistake that I see people make with their 501c3 paperwork is not understanding whether they're a public charity or a private foundation. So the IRS automatically defaults you to a private foundation. But in most circumstances, if you want to do direct work and receive grants from other organizations, you're not a private foundation, you're a public charity. And so if you don't understand how to designate that you're a public charity on your paperwork, you're going to make a mistake and it could be a costly mistake. You may have to pay to get that fixed or wait a certain number of years if you wait too long before it can switch over. So you just need to be mindful of what the difference of those two are. I've talked about the difference in a bunch of different videos, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I'll just say public charity nonprofits, right, get their money from a bunch of different sources, a bunch of different public sources. It may be grants, it may be fee for service where you charge for things, it may be donations from others. So there are a bunch of different ways you make money. As a private foundation, you can have a limited source of income. So you can get income from one or two sources, right? Say you have a business and you have a foundation associated with it, and you normally give grants. You don't normally do direct services. Some foundations do, and that's a different type of foundation, which I'm not going to go into in this video, but that's the distinction. You're giving grants typically as a private foundation, and you can have a limited number of income sources. That distinction is really important for you as a nonprofit, so you need to make sure you read up on that and you understand what you are. Number 7 is to know your NTEE code. All right. So it's the National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities. Whew, I got it out. All right. So this is a code that you're going to have to put into your paperwork. And it's kind of like an index that the IRS uses to categorize the activities that you carry out as an organization. So what you're going to have to do is review their list of codes, Think about the activities that you're going to do as a nonprofit and see where it fits best. You can only pick one code, so you have to go through all of them to make sure that you're picking the right code that makes the most sense for your particular organization. So I am linking a document below to help you find your NTEE code so you can be prepared when you're filling out your paperwork. Number 8 is know your mission, which essentially is your charitable purpose, which you're filling out on the paperwork, right? So the IRS, what they're going to do when looking at your paperwork is determine whether or not you qualify as an exempt organization. So in the simplest terms that I can put it, they want to verify that it's okay that they're not taking income tax from you. All right, so if you are really legit a nonprofit and you're doing exempt kind of work and charity work, then okay, they're good. They're not going to take income tax. But if you haven't proven to them by how you describe the work that you're doing that you really are an exempt organization, then you may run into issues, right? So you need to prepare and make sure you have a mission and you have a charitable purpose statement ready when you're filling out your paperwork. This is one of the first things that you really should be doing is identifying your what and your why, and that's the essence of your mission statement. Check out this video that I did on mission statements so you can understand how to form your own. But you need to make sure that it basically captures the essence of what you do, because this is what the IRS is going to use to determine whether or not you really are an exempt organization. Number 9 is a real simple one. Make sure you have a Pay.gov account. Now, in the last couple of years, this has changed because the IRS used to accept paperwork through the mail, but now you have to submit your paperwork online and you need a Pay.gov account. And this is as of 2022. Who knows in the future how the IRS may change this, so make sure you always check and verify this. But as of 2022, you need to set up a Pay.gov account. It does not cost money. So please don't pay anybody to set up a Pay.gov account for you. It's essentially just an account that you can use to add your payment information, to pay for the application, and to actually submit the paperwork, okay? So if you're going to be applying for 501c3 status, make sure you have your Pay.gov account ready to go. And number 10 is a real cheat code. So if you're in a situation and you can't afford a lawyer or you can't afford a consultant to fill out the paperwork for you, there is an awesome book that you can grab that will actually walk you through step by step how to fill out the paperwork. And it doesn't just stop with the 501c3 paperwork. It also helps you with your articles of incorporation and your bylaws too. So it's the NOLO published book, How to Start a Nonprofit. And they even have some books that are specific to the state. So they have one that's like How to Start a Nonprofit in California, all of that. And you can easily find it on Amazon. What I'm going to do for you is to put the link to the book below. It's not a lot of money. And if you're diligent and you actually read and follow the instructions, you can get through the paperwork yourself. All right. So that is the ultimate cheat code. If you can't afford for someone to do the paperwork for you, then grab that book because it'll walk you through and explain a lot of the processes of starting a nonprofit and filling out your paperwork for your 501c3 status. So if you got to the end of this video, I know you're committed, you're disciplined because you really want to start your nonprofit. I'm just going to encourage you today to keep going, right? Make sure you do your research and make sure you're prepared, but keep going, right? There's a purpose behind what you're doing, and don't get caught up with your doubt, your fear, your worry. Just keep going. If you need help figuring out the steps to starting a nonprofit, make sure you grab my free startup checklist. It's down below in the description box. Also, if you need help, you need more resources, make sure you go to www.bossonabudget.com. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.